there's just a wide variety here. You know, I was just sharing my memories, and I'm sure you all are talking among yourselves and sharing yours. But I got here in 1990. Yeah, that's how old I am. I got here in 1990, and I remember distinctly having conversations with George Keller, and he was such a delightful human being, and he was such a big personality. I mean, I think that having this bench dedicated, particularly in this location, is meaningful as well. Because another great memory I have, which I know all of you do, that tree back there, not the first one, but the one in the back, was a place where George would stand for hours. And you could always count on passing the building and seeing him out here. But I think what was so special about George standing there was the fact he was always surrounded by students. They just gravitated toward them. So I think that was George's classroom. And I see this bench as being so near to it is really, I think, in honor of the work that George did, of course, in the classroom. But one of George's greatest gifts to us was the work he did outside the classroom, mentoring students and just taking the time to talk to them. And I think that's very special. And I want to thank all of you for coming today. I'm going to hand it over to Javier, who I'm sure has even more memories with your George.
Thanks, baby. You should know that I was close to George, and he was very fond of you. You should know that. So I am just happy that you are the one for coffee. The other thing I want to thank, I know she's not here. I actually have never met her. Her name is Meredith Brunen. We have to thank her for helping us in finalizing the bench, as well as Holly Preston. She has been wonderful in organizing this event, and pretty much is the icing on the cake to have this inauguration, because I never thought we'd have even a small ceremony, because we've been working on this for over 2 years just to accomplish this. When I started this, actually it was a student who emailed me after Dave Jenks. I don't know if you remember, some of you remember him. He sent an email that George had died, and a student read that and sent me an email and said we should get a bench, a memorial bench. And you know, because we all think a lot of students, so I wasn't going to disappoint anybody, so I started looking into it, and Pauline directed me to a person in the foundation, and that's how we started. I want to thank Jess Lassiter, who he's not here right now, but he works with Holly, and he was very helpful in raising the funds and creating what was needed in order to carry it out. David Mertens, he has been the lab coordinator in physics. He is the one that has been the person in charge of contacting the students, and I guess some of the students didn't make it today. But the reason that we picked Saturday was so that people would come here. And of course, I want to thank the faculty, the friends, and the students for the help that they all provided in doing this. Now, the one thing I have to tell you is that George had kind of two personalities. Well, we all have many personalities, but he had a social one and a scientific one. The social one, of course, Pauline has mentioned how students used to surround him and so on and so forth. That was his office, as well as his classroom. I knew him socially and scientifically, but he was a perfectionist in private, and we did a lot of experiments, and we did a lot of measurements. And you know, to be quite honest with you, it was so difficult to work with him because he wanted everything exactly and repeatable so many times. I only got to publish one paper with George, and I gave a copy to David because he knew George personally as well. But I have many papers with other people, but with George I only had that one. And now when I first came here, I came here around the time that Pauline came, and so we pretty much know each other very well. David Gold, Henry Zod, Farouk Khan, Chris. We've known each other for a long time. Dr. Payne. We've known each other for a long time. How you doing, RJ? I'm glad you made it.
Yeah.
He's one of the students that has also helped us in accomplishing this bench. But one thing I wanted to say about George is that when I first came, he was in charge of the Society of Physics students, and he would never let it go. He was the advisor for the students, and I was interested in advising the students, but he would never let me do it until more or less close to his retirement. He let it go, but he was also in charge of the scholarships. He loved to we had a fund for the scholarship. We still have the fund, and he would pick the best student in his classes, in the introphysics classes, and give the scholarship. And the other thing about him, even though I remember, for example, he would grab people over here, like some faculty would start arguing. And I would laugh about it because he was just playing with me. Nobody ever realized that he was just teasing people all the time. Like I remember him arguing with David Bolt, for example, and I used to laugh because David never realized George was just putting him on. But anyways, so when I first came here then, I became the president of the Sigma Psi Club, and Ann Gacker became the president much later. And so one of the activities that we started was an idea of George's. That is, we should have a competition of students giving talks. And so we started the Sigma Psi talks over here in this building, the Keller building. And the geologists, of course, were really interested in it. And so we had people from all the sciences. And we used to compete over here. I remember Henry being a judge several times. Farouk used to get involved. You remember all that. And the idea was that the students would practice before we would send them to Georgia Academy of Science. And it was a wonderful thing. So that went on for a few years, and then other departments other colleges started getting involved, like economics. I think in business they still have that competition. Is that right, Dave?
No.
Oh, okay. But anyways, that was the seed that started what today is called the Undergraduate Research Conference. And this year is in April 4th. That seed is what started it. So really, that was an idea of George's. And that's how I'm going to end today. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate this. Thank you very much, Holly.